Hey, what's up?
Signing in really slow tonight.
Yeah, well, those trade.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks. Got it. Welcome to Ed's Wrestling Ring, also known as NPU-W. Just as a friendly reminder, Brandon Towers does not allow us to park there, and still, like normal, we can't park in the church parking lot across the street, so please make sure you're in one of the other lots or street parking. Right at the top of our agenda here, we've got our consent agenda, if anybody has gotten that or not. If you don't have a copy, I'm going to run through it real quick. So land use and zoning is on the consent agenda tonight. So we've got the B 2012, which is the 469 Florida Avenue. That's approval. B 2014 643 Brownwood, that was approval. And then Z 2009 201025, that was also approval. So that's our consent agenda. There's 3 items, all are for approval. Yes, Mr. Carr.
We had a discussion at the zoning committee meeting regarding that last item, and 10,000 barrels times 31 gallons per barrel. What is it, 10,000 barrels in a 1-year period, 12-month period?
5,000 barrels a year, Steve. I have no idea what that translates into gallons.
5,000 barrels?
Anyone make a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt consent.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and start right away with Zone 6.
Evening, everybody.
Of you? No, which one?
Oh, I'm good.
You like here?
Ah,
Yeah, we were.
I'll let it go. How's everybody doing? All right. I was on my way out the door, and the captain called. He got called to another meeting, so I'm here. I am. My name's Lieutenant Sugleski. Everybody calls me Ski. I'm the lieutenant over the Zone 6. It was Boulevard unit, Fit unit. Now it's a crime suppression unit. The captain and the major are recently transferred in. The other ones were transferred out. They were given different positions. Your new captain, new major, along with the chief, are really putting an emphasis on auto larcenies, stuff like that. So they sent me over in charge of the 15. They bolstered the 15 from 8 people. We're now up to 26. We've done several details over the last month. We caught 4 different crews of people breaking into cars, which resulted in last week we cleared 6 or 7 other cases throughout the zones, just not in Zone 6. But what we found was these guys were operating and Sandy Springs, Johns Creek, South Fulton, they're operating through multiple jurisdictions. And after we catch them, we gather a bunch of intel on them and do a lot of backtracking through the stuff that we gather, and we're able to clear a lot of other stuff. Our emphasis is mainly on package theft, auto thefts, auto larceny, stuff like that. That's what they're giving a lot of attention and focus to. Our numbers are steady dropping crime-wise, although they're still high. They're getting a lot better, and they're putting a lot of emphasis on what we do. This is not only from the major and the captain, but from the chief as well. So my unit, you don't see us around a lot because they gave us a lot of undercover vehicles, and we found out that if we just sit and just watch and do a lot of undercover stuff, it tends to have better results. So that's really about it. I'm sorry I don't have the latest crime stats. Like I said, I was walking out the door when I was sent over here. But feel free if anybody's have any questions that I did not cover or touch upon. Anybody? Yes?
So at the SAN meeting earlier...
Can you speak up, please?
Yeah,
Sure. At the SAN meeting earlier this month, Inspector Tillman came, and he mentioned that he's responsible for, vehicle break-ins and this kind of thing. And so he said that he would we asked that at the NPU-W meeting, they bring the stats on the number of firearms that were stolen from vehicles in 2019 in the city and in each
Yeah, they didn't send that with me.
So, who coordinates, who comes and how can?
Usually the captain and or the major hit the NPUs, and they have that information, but the major's been out dealing with some family issues, and the captain was called to another meeting. So I know there's a couple hundred of them stolen last year.
Sure. Who's best to email?
Yeah,
Make sure that that comes.
the
Yeah.
zone major, the best person
Yeah.
to contact, and you contact, was 404-371-5000 still? Is that six? I used to remember numbers, I don't remember them anymore.
Ski, SKI. Anybody, anything else?
5003.
Sorry?
My house was sort of broken into while I was out of town,
Sort of?
and well, I made it through the door, but it didn't take me.
Okay.
And the officer got there in time to stop it.
Wow.
Thank you. But I found the process afterwards to be sort of confusing because I had to find out where the crime report was not at the zone office. I tried to contact the officer who made the arrest, and I couldn't contact him, although apparently he tried to call me while I was out of town. I don't have any idea what happened to the case, or how it was adjudicated, or what happened to the,
You have a case number?
not on me, but I can get that, but I found the process to be sort of not what I expected. I put it very briefly, because I know at the time, what happens when your house is broken into, your car gets broken into. But they use, I'm not gonna use the word victim, what you should do, how that works.
Usually what you do is there'll be a case number, and in 5 to 7 business days, depending on how often it gets kicked back and forth between the supervising officer, you're able to get a copy of it down at Central Records. And they'll have all the information. Then an investigator is usually assigned the case, and they usually reach out to you after that.
Bob, are you offering up a more generalized comment that maybe the process should be examined, and probably we should push that forward somewhere else?
I'm sure there's reasons why the process exists as it does.
Yeah,
I just sort of
me
assume
too.
I can go to the zone office and get a copy of the crime report.
No, you have to go to Central Records because you have to pay for it.
If you're on the bus or something, if you go all the way out to the very edge of town on the west side,
Mm-hmm.
it's not counted.
Can't you get it online? It's like.
I know car accidents you can, but
Yeah, that's.
But no, but it's sort of, I thought it was odd, it wasn't what I expected. And everyone was real nice and everything, but.
yeah, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, there could be a better way. Anybody, anything else? All right, have a good evening.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Hello, everybody. I'm Officer Bob with the Atlanta Police Department. Myself and Officer Ramsey are part of a specialized unit within the department dealing with traffic. We're the high-intensity traffic team. There's 7 of us on the unit, and we deal with traffic stops, basically. Pull you over out on the roads for doing various traffic violations. In addition, 3 of us on that unit are part of a state grant called HEAT, and we specifically deal with fatalities on roadways, trying to prevent fatalities on roadways. And we target traffic violations that would cause fatalities, such as speeding, hands-free, seatbelts, things like that.
DUI.
And DUI. We're just here to remind you of some laws that we see, violations that we see a lot of people do, and we want to try to reduce the number of people committing these violations. A couple things. When you see a emergency vehicle, especially a police officer pulling somebody over on the side of the road, always please move over at least 1 lane to your left or right, depending on if they're on the right or left over. It's very scary for us when we're out there in cars buzzing by us, and you get a ticket for that. It's a pretty hefty ticket. We don't really like it. Second thing is that we see a lot when we pull people over. The law states that you have to pull over to the right side of the road, whether that be a shoulder or the right side. A lot of people like to freeze up and they stop in the middle of the road, especially on the highway. That's daily we get people that do that. They pull over to the HOV lane and stop around a curve, and that ends up badly for a lot of people. Next thing, make sure you wear your seatbelt. The state believes that if The state believes that if you don't wear your seatbelt, you have a higher chance of dying in a car accident. So that's one of the things we focus on. We also remember that the speed limit in the on the highways here are 65 and under. And remember that if you're going 85 or more, it's a super speeder. So your license can be suspended for that. We pull you over for that. That's what's going to happen. Lastly, if you're a pedestrian, make sure that you use crosswalks. Don't walk in the middle of the street. Don't cross over, because a lot of these people, especially at night, you can't see them, and somebody will come around the corner and hit them. And that's usually not good for the person walking in the street. Well, yeah, but make sure you cross at the proper times. We also deal with DUIs. We do a lot of DUIs in this area, so if you ever have a DUI or stuff, usually one of us will be the ones coming out there, and we've dealt with a lot of people that are DUI. If you drink, don't drive, obviously. Even if you've had a couple drinks, a lot of people don't realize they're impaired, and they decide to drive. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
So they're putting up crosswalks at like Wiley Street with the flashing yellow signals for the Beltline Trail.
Okay.
Are pedestrians required to use those, or is that just a nicety to have?
Well, you're talking about the ones that have the blinking yellow lights, or some
Yeah.
of them have the red lights that, yes, they're supposed to use them. I mean, they're crosswalks, so those are crosswalks that they can use to cross. They don't have to go to the traffic light. They can use those, but they're supposed to be pushing the buttons. But you still, even if they don't push those buttons to turn on the lights, you still have to yield to those pedestrians because they are using your crosswalk. You should be pushing those buttons, waiting until it tells you to cross, just like a regular crosswalk. And those are supposed to help design to, let people know in the cars that people are crossing. So I know I see a lot of cars that just blow right through those all the time. So that's another thing you got to pay attention to.
Is that something that you're enforcing, driver behavior around crosswalks?
Us specifically not, but the other units that are on our, the other officers on our unit do surface streets. We mainly work on the highways, but we will enforce it if we see it and we're, driving by a crosswalk like that. Yes, we will. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Fire department.
No, we have none. We saw police. Police?
He's been fine.
No, let's go. No, let's do fire so they can get back out in the field.
Good evening, everyone. Captain First, Station 13. Of course, we still do our car seats, smoke detectors, blood pressure checks. Coronavirus, everybody's heard about that. I mean, you watch the news, it's getting rain with coronavirus. Please, it's nothing new, but the strain is new, I guess, and it seems to be stronger, so please just make sure you wash your hands. If you're having person-to-person contact, please, I tell my children when they come home from school, go straight to the bathroom, wash your hands, change your clothes. I put the clothes you have on in the laundry, go ahead and wash them. So, if you have fever, cough, shortness of breath, those are the symptoms, so please be wary of that. Try and see if you can get some help. Congested streets because of all the construction that we have. They're throwing up apartments everywhere. Streets are getting clogged. When you're parking, please try and move over as much as possible. These streets are narrow. Our engines are not that wide, but they're wide enough to where we have to be wary on both sides of the streets, and we're trying to get to emergency calls. So please be wary of where you park. And when you see us behind you with the lights on, please don't just stop right in front of us. Please move over like you're supposed to, because my drivers have had to make some very drastic measures as far as making sure they don't rear end anybody. Any questions for me? Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Code enforcement.
Hello, I am Officer Parks with Code Enforcement. I am your new permanent officer for Code Enforcement. I am new to code enforcement. I repeat, I am new to code enforcement, but I'm still learning. That being said, 562 Moreland Avenue has an in-rim hearing on Thursday, which is tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I have the address and the hearing time and date and the location already on the table over there if you want to know the information.
What building is that?
The annex building, all that's on the
No, 562 more.
562 Moreland House. Okay, 494 Flat Shows, which is a building. That case has been reset because the owner has asked for an attorney, so he has a right for attorney, so that court date is April the 4th.
Is that the master theater?
Yes. Yes. You want to know the violations?
Please.
Okay. The violations is open and vacant, meaning that the building was open. Junk trash debris, meaning that he had trash behind the building. And graffiti, meaning, somebody drawing on the building. He didn't comply, none of it. He asked for an attorney. So, April 3rd, he will have his attorney.
You will see that person's name a lot.
Oh, okay.
That's our slogan. Amen.
Okay.
Just FYI.
All right. And any questions? Wow. Okay. Guess I did okay.
All right, solid waste.
Good evening, I'm Officer White, and part of the sweep department. Only thing I have is continue to call in your bulk items. That includes large piles of yard debris. That is included with bulk as well. Any type of appliances, that kind of thing. You call that in, they give you an actual date, and they come pick it up on that date. So if you have some stuff you need to get rid of, call it in first. They'll give you a date, and you get everything out one time. That way, you can get it all at one time. And it doesn't fall in your trash day. They give you an actual date. That's basically all I have. Everybody, go ahead.
What happens if people don't know what they're supposed to do? Could I call in and say, this needs to be picked up?
Yeah, okay. You couldn't call it in for your neighbor because they're gonna ask the name and information.
See, that's
But
right.
you could also call it in. When I go first time to your house, I will give you a warning just to say, hey, this is what you need to do. Because I know everybody doesn't know what things that are picked up or not. So I just let them know that, hey, just call 311, get it scheduled, and we'll go from there. So I
So
usually have
if you've been out there before, if I've called before, that those people should know.
They get tickets then.
Why can't, I understand mattresses. I drive around pretty much every day and look at stuff. A lot of people will put out mattresses, okay? I know that with 2 mattresses, you have to call. Why can't sanitation at least pick up 1 mattress one mattress?
I want the same thing too.
Wouldn't that just, it would be done faster, rather than those mattresses sitting there?
I
for
think
weeks.
because let's
That
say
would
they
make
did
too
pick up
much
one.
sense.
I know it would. But let's say they pick up one, then they were like, well, why did they leave the other one? So it's kind of catch with it. So I have battle with that because I say the same thing. Please just grab some of it and then maybe we can get the rest next week. But that doesn't happen. So if you have any, feel free to call me and I will. I like to yell at
Like I
them.
said, I drive around and I see
Yes,
stuff that
yeah.
just sits there.
So that's what we're trying to stop because most of the time that like you said, a lot of people don't know to call it in. So my job is to educate everybody so that you know. Most of the time people comply, just want to say no. No. Right. They don't know.
And they don't care.
Right. True. Okay. So yeah, good. I'll throw it back out there too.
Good evening. My name is Amici, and I'm part of the communication team of Public Works. Keep Atlanta Beautiful Commission is implementing their Freedom Street basically allowing all the residents, all the homeowners to know what's the right and proper thing to put into their recycling bins, the blue bins. And what they're doing is they're walking around every house in various neighborhoods, and they're putting up a particular tag that has a Boots car on it. So basically, if you don't put in the proper items, they'll tag it and say, hey, next time we come out, please discard it so we can pick up the actual items correctly. And it's basically giving a better understanding of what's the recycle, what items are recyclable, what items are considered trash. And if you go to AtlantaGA/recycling, they give you all the up-to-date information. You can actually put your information in there to tell you the time in which recycling takes place, and then tell you the actual items that should be discarded opposed to which ones should be recycled. And it gives you all information up to date about what you need to do in any situation. So again, if you go to AtlantaGA/recycling, it'll give you all the update information that you need.
Glass okay, styrofoam no, right?
Say it again now.
Glass is okay, styrofoam no.
That's correct.
But charm will take styrofoam. Okay, I can't go take down a lot of,
That's two, go.
I take down a lot of the illegal signs, that it's made out of this material. Right. You guys don't take it. Charm has stopped taking it. Right now, I've got about 25 signs at my house, trying to figure out what to
Here
do.
you go, give you my card. I got you.
Okay, I don't want it picked up. I want to know how I can recycle it without me going into some trash. That's not.
Any other questions?
Really?
Have a good day.
Okay, I won't take any more signs down.
That will be a pain for all.
I guess we're not allowed to ask questions.
Are there any other city departments or
No, it's
county
not a
folks that have
conversation.
stepped in? No? All right, let's jump into safety committee. We have our folks from Zoo Paws Pet Adoption here.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't quite understand the question. You were asking about different departments?
Yes,
I'm actually a judge from Fulton County, and I wanted to talk to y'all for just a few minutes. If that's okay?
sure.
Sorry.
You have a card by any chance?
Interruption. Sir?
A card?
I do. I'll give you one in just a second.
For
I'm sorry.
reference, no, please, go ahead.
So my name is Rachel Krause. I'm a judge in Fulton County. Obviously, some of you are DeKalb, but for those of you who are in Fulton, one of the things that that I've been trying to do is reach out and let you know that as Fulton County has rolled out some of its data so that you can see what the county departments are doing. Although the courts are not a department of Fulton County, we are also the beneficiary of that information. And so I wanted to let you know that for those of you who are interested in paying attention to what the courts are doing, what our case counts are, who we have in jail, what numbers of people we have in jail, things like that, that information is available to you publicly. There's a big, long address, but I have found that the easiest way to find it is if you do a search for Sheriff Fulton and then Fulton County Judge. Now, if you do a search for Sheriff Fulton, it will show you all of the other county type data. But if you want to get directly to the judges, if you search for Sheriff Fulton and Fulton Judges, you will get that information. And what it's right now, the only thing that's available is non-complex criminal and complex criminal. And so if you go to the complex criminal, the 16 of the 20 judges in Fulton County, the 16 of us, myself included, who handle complex criminal cases, we are there, and you can see the number of cases we have, you can see the number of cases we close, you can see the number of individuals we have in jail, those sorts of things. That is something that I know the public is very interested in terms of actually seeing what it is that we do. Because most of the time, the only time I see any of you is either you're there for jury duty and you're mad at me that I've dragged you there, or you are in the middle of some sort of lawsuit, or God forbid, a family separation, or some sort of criminal, that you're involved in, been the victim or something like that of some sort of criminal prosecution. And so what we wanted to let you know as citizens is that there is a way to look in on what we do without having to get dragged down to our courtroom. Although we do welcome you. Our courtrooms are open every day, and you can come see what we're doing in there every day. Yes, sir.
Is this, are we talking Superior Court or Magistrate Court?
This is Superior Court. I don't know if they're also rolling out something associated with Magistrate Court, but this is just for Superior Court right now, and right now it's just for the complex criminal. which is what most people have expressed a great deal of interest in. It's what most of the Superior Court judges spend most of their time doing. Yes, sir.
So I don't know if it's just me or most of us here, but my concern is revolving door judges. My daughter and son-in-law Jeep has been stolen last summer, and we're still trying to resolve it. And it's very frustrating, and we'd like to know how we can find out the record of judges and how to vote accordingly in November.
Well, I can't tell you how to vote in November, but what I can tell you is that this is one of the things that we're trying to do, is so that you can look at the judges and see what the judges, at least by their case counts, what they're doing. One of the reasons that I wanted to introduce myself is because, you know, you can reach out and ask if you have questions. You can reach out to the county departments, you can reach out to court administration, you can even reach out to the individual judges and ask their staff for information about their hearings, about what they're doing to process cases. We know that it is a problem with this revolving door, particularly when it comes to property crimes, and we're trying lots of different ways to approach that in a way that provides both public safety and peace of mind, but also protects the constitutional rights of the individuals who are charged with those crimes, and that's the difficulty. So, but we do know it's a problem.
To that particular case, my daughter showed up, and the first time she showed up, the family members and entourage around said, they were expecting him to get off for the 26th time. And the prosecutor said, no, the victim is here, and he's not going to walk this time. And they were all upset, so it's still going on.
Well, all I can tell you is your experience. It is true. I mean, that's one of the reasons that the prosecutors try very hard to have the victims come to court, because it goes a long way with the prosecutors, with the defense attorneys trying to get into a plea, and also with the judges to remind you that there is a real person who was really affected by this, particularly when it comes to property crimes.
And the victim advocate was very
I
helpful.
want to say that.
I'm glad to hear that. We have wonderful victims
advocates.
advocates.
The family behind us actually asked, what does the victim have to do with him not getting out? And I wanted to know. The car he had wasn't his.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. For those of you, if you ever come to the courthouse, the women that are wearing the gold, or not all women, I'm sorry, but the people that are wearing the gold look like Century 21 real estate agents. They are our victims advocates, and they do a wonderful job with helping the victims navigate that process.
And keeping us informed. I have to say,
anyone else have any questions to Judge Krause?
I'm sorry? There's a big long website, and if I tell you it, I'll mess it up. But if you Google Share Fulton and then Fulton County Judge, you will find the information. It will be the first hit that you get.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Bob?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's suggesting that I get banishment. And I would just assume that banishing somebody from the county would abridge their constitutional right.
No, it doesn't, as long as you're looking at any county in Georgia. That's why Eccles County, Georgia is the most banished county in the state, with one stoplight.
So is that hoping I'd ask the judge to explain what banishment is and whether it is or isn't constitutional?
Please, go ahead, Judge.
I'm sorry.
No.
So to his question, for those of you, and when I first became a judge, I didn't know what banishment was either. But sometimes if we have people who are not from the metro area, who have come here from another state or from another county, one of the punishments will be, you know what, I don't want to use my tax dollars to pay for you to be incarcerated or to pay for you to be on probation. What I want you to do is go away and don't come back. And it has been challenged as to whether or not, to his point, it is constitutional to do that. And I believe that the decision has been, as one of your leaders was pointing out, the decision has been that as long as you leave them one county in the state of Georgia, then their constitutional rights haven't been violated. And he is right. Eccles County is one of the most banished 2 counties. The sheriff's department there has gotten a little annoyed. So I try to pick border counties so that if they're in Alabama and they wander over, they'll be okay. So thank you all very much. I'm sorry.
Steve has something I'm sure it's going to be fascinating. Please.
99% of the people that get convicted and go to jail come out and come back into our community or somebody else's community. I would love to see a variety of programs such as vocational, to teach the thieves a better trade so they don't have to bust windows on cars and so forth. and more counseling programs, because there's a recent, there's all kinds of articles in all kinds of papers and other publications that say what a depressing and mean-spirited place, for instance, incarceration is. And all that does is enforce a negative mindset on people that are coming back into our community, and we've got to deal with them again. To the person's comment about revolving door. So, whatever programs you can advocate for, teach people honest living, an honest trade, I'd appreciate it.
I will be brief and then I will be done. I'm very sorry.
You're not, please.
I'm stealing from another judge who had a quote that I think makes a lot of good sense. That
wasn't Doris Downs, was it?
No, sir. The difficulty is you have to find the difference between the people that we're just mad at and the people that we're really afraid of. And the people that we're just mad at, to your point, sir, it is something that we are looking at accountability courts, we are looking at behavioral health courts, we are looking at housing and drug rehabilitation programs that will help us put people in places that will give them better opportunities than simply putting, and reserving the prison system for the people that we really are afraid of. And so that's that balance that we're trying to find. So
Also, a huge part of it is political culture.
Thank you, Steve.
It's a long-term thing. It's not a quick.
Long-term discussion too.
Yes, that's an ongoing topic. And speeding on Moreland, no, you don't. I'm sorry. No, that's a very Steve.
We'll bring that up next week.
Any other questions to the judge? Judge.
I'm sorry I've taken so much time, but I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Judge, first of all, thank you. You are, in fact, the first Superior Court judge ever to come to NPU in my brief time on it, which 18 years. But thank you very much. And please feel free to come back anytime.
I will.
Serious.
Thank you.
So back to Safety Committee. Ron Lau is not in town this month, so I'll run through that real quick. We've got the Zoo Paws pet adoption folks here. We can go ahead and start with them. If you guys want to come up and just tell us about your event, okay? Yep.
I'm Lauren Bates. I am an event planner at Atlanta. I've been there for 8 years. The last 4 or 5 years, we've been doing a dog adoption event in partnership with Atlanta Humane Society. Really great event, lots of puppies. We've added some cats over the last couple of years. We average about 60 adoptions per event, so that's been really great. That's a bunch of different rescues participate. We have some food trucks and stuff. This year it'll be Saturday, April 18th, so it doesn't interfere with Inman Park Festival or anything. And it'll be in the Zoo Atlanta parking lot. It's kind of in our turnaround area. If you guys are in the area, come on by. It's a lot of fun. It'll be 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Like I said, Humane Society will be out there, Lifeline, Best Friends, a bunch of different dogs for adoption. So we're hoping to beat our record and give a lot of dogs.
Do they do any special pricing for adoptions at events like this, or is it the standard, whatever that?
That's a great question. So every rescue that's involved sets their own pricing. Some of them the fees waived, some of them are lowered. We had a group come from like South Carolina because they have dogs that never get seen there, so they brought them up and they were able to get adopted at this event. They did have like a lower price, but it's set per rescue. So if you come to the event, you'll see like kind of each tent is a different rescue, and we don't dictate pricing at all. Neither does the Humane Society. Kind of let them do what they think is fair. So there's a couple different tiers of pricing. Like I said, some of the senior dogs fees are kind of waived and stuff. So, but there's some really cute puppies usually. Any other questions?
So the motion would be to support this. Is there anybody opposed to supporting this event? All right. Thank you very much. Neighborhood jazz concerts.
Hi, I'm Emily Fisher. I'm with the Atlanta Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs. My number is 404-546-6849. My email address is eafisher, Fisher, @atlantaga.gov. I'm here to let you know we are doing the Neighborhood Jazz Festival in Grant Park this year on Sunday, May 3rd. We do not have a confirmed lineup, but if you check our website, which is Atlanta Festivals, you can see when we know exactly who will be performing. Generally, the event is from about 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I'm just coming here to get a vote of support from NPU-W. Any questions? Yes?
What side of the park?
So it's kind of Cherokee and Georgia. Cherokee's here, Georgia's here. Our stage is in the park there. Here, you can check it out closer. Any other questions?
So the motion on the floor is to approve. Is there anybody opposed to that? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Bronx Day. Is anybody from Bronx Day here?
Here.
Hello everybody, I'm Joseph. Business on the street. We do an event called Bronx Day Atlanta. We're on our 15th year. We're doing it Grant Park. It's like a family event that we do every year. We're starting to move in. Everybody sets up at 8 to 12. And at 8 o'clock, we just stop. So we'll have music there. We'll have vendors there. Just have a good time.
We will have APD out there, like 10 officers out there, either on bike or motorcycles or walking around the whole park. We'll have the sanitation people there the day of the event and the day after to make sure the park is thoroughly cleaned up. We haven't had any issues with cleaning up the park. Like I said, we pay the sanitations to be there for 2 days, the day of the event and the day after, to make sure everything is cleaned up. Whatever we mess up, we will fix. We also do volunteer work at the park also, so we do come back and help out. We'll have the EMS service there also. Everybody's welcome to come out. It's like I said, it's a big family event. We have a kids station for the kids to have their face painted. We have those different vendors. They sell either the food or merchandise. And we will have DJs that's coming from New York that will play. Like I said, the music is going to be turned off by 8 p.m. sharp. I will make sure it's shut off. And we make sure that everybody's out the park by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, last year, I believe, same event, we had a lot of problems with street racing on Park Avenue.
It wasn't with Grant Park last year.
You were?
We haven't done Grant Park in probably 3 years.
3 or 4 years.
My bad then.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
What's the date of the event?
July 18th, Saturday, July 18th. We will have the vendors to come and set up between 8 and 11. We have the people setting up the music between 11 and 12, and then the music actually goes on at 1 o'clock, and like I said, it ends at 8 p.m. And again, I just want to stress out to you that we do have sanitations that we pay lots of money to come out for both days to make sure that everything is cleaned up. And I will give y'all my email address if you have any issues about the park and how it was left and everything. But we will have the 10 APD officers out there directing traffic, going around the park, checking on people, making arrests if they need to make arrests, but we haven't had any kind of issue within the last 15 years. Yes, ma'am.
What's the name of the event? I couldn't hear.
I'm sorry.
Bronx Day Atlanta. Bronx Day Atlanta.
Bronx Day?
Yes. And we did the proper protocol as far as filling out the application, going through the cities and everything like that for the next. It's just going to be a one-day event, Saturday, July 18th.
Yes, sir.
Another event that trouble people parking in the park or on the grass.
We haven't had that problem. We haven't had that problem, but it shouldn't be a problem this year, especially since the garage is going to be up.
And then the police officers are going to be out there to direct traffic and where they can park. So, yes. And they are aware of everything. So. And we had the same police officers for the last 5-6 years. So they basically know our crowd. But like I said, if you have any issues or whatever, feel free to send me an email. If you want to, I can give you my email address. You ready to write this down if you want? It's CHADION. I'm sorry, that's my personal one. The company, sorry. It's Shanita. It's CHANITA at CO, the letter 07-LLC.com. So if you have any issues or you have any other questions that I didn't answer for you this evening, feel free. Don't think you get a response within 24 to 48 hours. Because I got a full-time job, so I got to work on that. But I'm be glad to respond to all the emails.
Any opposition to this application? All in favor say aye with some effort.
Aye.
Well done. Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good evening.
Atlanta Cycling Festival.
Good evening. My name is Mark McCampbell, and I'm director of the Atlanta Cycling Festival. We're a week-long festival that features bike ride events throughout the city. This year, our festival will be from May 9th to the 15th. And at the end of our festival every year, we have what's known as a closing bash. It's a culmination of a great week of cycling events. And this year, we'd like to hold it on May 15th from 5 to 10 p.m. at Eventide Brewery in Grant Park neighborhood. We'll have entertainment vendors, music. The music will be at a respectful level. We'll cut it off at 10 p.m. We'll have trash, and we have a trash sanitation plan in place. The majority of our attendees are cyclists, so they'll ride along bicycle. Therefore, we do not anticipate any issues with traffic or parking. We'll have APD on at the brewery. Everything to provide security. Everything will take place at the brewery. And of course, I'd like to invite everybody to come that evening and have some fun with us and enjoy the time with us. I think that's about it. Thank you for your time.
So the motion is to support. Anybody opposed to that? All right, thank you. We're going to do the liquor licenses next. Let's actually start with 1988 Flat Shoals. So that's a change of ownership.
Good evening. My name is Hakeem Hilliard with Hilliard Starkey Law. I'm here with Mr. Asad Lakani, owner-operator of the convenience store service station at 1988 Flat Shoals Road. If you're familiar with the site, you'll know that it's closed and kind of in a bad condition. Mr. Lakani's purchased it. He's working on the plans to submit to the city for the redevelopment of the property. It's a non-conforming site, so he can't change much, but he's going to improve the shell and inside and outside pumps and sidewalks. So as gas stations go, it's going to be a very nice looking gas station. We're here today for the beer and wine license application. Obviously, you can't start to sell until the redevelopment is completed and all the permits are in place. And Mr. Wakani and I are here to answer any questions you might have about the site.
And just so everyone knows, the recommendation of the committee from this is going to be to approve conditional on visiting ECA next month. Any other questions? Any opposition?
Is this on the other side of I-20 down
Yes.
Flat Shoals?
Yes.
The one on the left there?
Yes.
Is there any opposition to this application? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none.
Thanks very much.
Well, we can make it harder. Let's set a gamble.
Let's set a gamble, yes.
Okay. And have you been to Grant Park? Yes. Been to Grant Park? Awesome. Sorry.
Hello, I'm Lisetta Gamble. I am owner of Estrelita, which is a Filipino restaurant, and looking to bring in the Filipino hospitality to Grant Park. It's located at 580 Woodward Avenue, and it holds about 20 seats. It's really small, and I'm here to apply for alcohol. Kevin has started with us from the very beginning. He's actually our stating this. Really excited. Do you guys have any questions?
Blessing Cross Sweets.
Sweets, so you
On the
can try.
agenda table. Do you want to describe what you brought?
I brought turon. It's called turon, and it's plantains. It's wrapped in well, you guys are probably more familiar with the egg roll wrap, but it's lumpia wrap, and it's seasoned with cinnamon and sugar, and it's fried. So
That's
ready for me to try.
delicious. And you have any questions for the applicant?
We're opening, looking to open April, end of April, May.
Any other questions? Any opposition? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
or we just say,
Yeah.
There's a lot of record application. It's LOR 22 for 626 and 618 Gresham Avenue. The hearing on that's set for March 4th, 2020. March 4th, so that. Applicant seeks to reinstate the 3 historical lots of record. And that was discussed and all said good. And then SD 1943, 940 Bruce Circle, applicant seeks to subdivide property into 2 lots, and the comments on that will also be submitted. There we go. That would be LOR 20-2, 626 and 618 Gresham Avenue.
That did not go to the land use and zoning.
Yes, it did.
It did to the land use and zoning.
The
timeline on the comments is
No,
short.
I'm not complaining. No, hold on. Did I misspeak this? Was that not, so this was not discussed?
It was discussed between NPU and EPU.
Yeah, no, that's all right, again, the question I believe Ralph's trying to ask is, was this discussed at the NPU Land Use and Zoning Committee meeting, which held the first Tuesday of the month? The answer is no, correct? All right, awesome. And this is a 21-day turnaround time on these things? Okay, that's the answer.
And the Eco Land Use and Zoning Committee is recommending no.
Okay, why?
Because we don't believe that that map that they supplied is really a flat map. It's really more of an advertisement about the Brown Land Company. So there are a number of maps by this Brown, at the same period of time, all of them slightly different. This is not the plastic.
So you believe it's an inaccurate map? No,
We believe it's not a platting map, it's a sales map.
Okay, very good. All right, so you want to make so we'll discuss the committee. There was no recommendation on that, and there's that comment will go forward as well. Yeah. All right. Anything else on that or the other ones?
At the risk of opening up a can of worms, what's the difference between an LOR and an SD? The effect is the same, right?
No.
Takes a piece of
Absolutely not.
land and makes 2 out of it?
No. Lots of record are historical lots of record, which can be tracked back to a map, which there's a name for it that I forget. The cadastral, I don't tell me. Anyway, there's an old map they have. If you can show what's on one of what you're trying to do fits in that, you win. If it doesn't, you lose. It's fairly straightforward. That's a lot of record. Subdivision is, can I break my property apart within the existing zoning into pieces that will fit within its existing zoning? So there are 2 different things that achieve effectively the same result.
Okay.
Do you understand the distinction?
It's not worth going into right now.
I didn't think so. Awesome. Anything else? Yes, sir.
I can help clarify a little bit.
Oh, you don't have to, but okay. No, go ahead. I mean, we don't. Are we good? Anything else?
No, sir.
Do you have a planner's report?
Other than, please look at your agenda for the community impact.
Okay.
The award of excellence and the community design award.
So what he's mentioning is the community impact grant. So the NPU for the last 4 or 5 years has applied for funds. We've done murals, we've done some police to do street closures, we've done some support of different local events. This year, what we're proposing is that we do neighborhood socials. So there would be 2 in Luca, 2 in Sand, and 2 in Grant Park. GPNA has agreed to help facilitate that if we need to pull permits. Additionally, it's a $4,000 grant total for the initial ask. We're also proposing that we would do walking tours of 1 park in each neighborhood, and we'd supply food and drink for that as well. So essentially, there's multiple opportunities that are community socials, and that's what we're asking for from the city this year. Additionally, last year the city had a significant number, like how many NPUs did not actually apply for grant funds last year, do you know? 7 or 8. So those funds were left on the table, so planning has told us if we choose to ask for more, we can go after more. So additionally, we're going to be asking for funds to do a potential Clue Town style scavenger hunt across all 3 neighborhoods, matching funds that we could use for traffic studies, Arc Right to Custer, Boulevard Memorial to Beltline, United, things like that. Funds to close the street for EAVOWeen, art paint for traffic control boxes, matching funds to continue looking at a dog park in Brownwood. So those are kind of things we're asking for, but the city has no set aside for them. But there's funds on the table, so we're going to ask for those. So right now, we would just ask support, that you guys support us applying for the grant funds and those buckets. Is anybody opposed to us going after those grant funds? All right, thank you. And then just one last clarification, if you're wondering why we did not discuss...
Sorry, speak up.
How do you submit for one of those options, like painting the telecom boxes?
So if we get the grant funds, which we should find out in 30 to 45 days after submitting, we'll put out something through all 3 neighborhoods and the NPU in terms of asking for, call for artists for that, if we win the funds.
Good luck. Let's do it.
Under special event applications, you'll notice picnic in the park. We did not discuss it. If anybody has comments, you can submit them to us. It's adjacent to the NPU, so it's close enough where the permitting impacts our NPU, but it is not specific to us. So, but if anybody does have comments, go ahead and send those to leadership@npu-w.org. So if there are comments on that particular festival. Anything else? Do you have anything else?
Yes, we're receiving a dictate from the city about how we're to control ourselves. Apparently there's been a problem, a severe problem within the NPU system, of campaigning happening. And because about half the city council or more of it came out of the NPU system, they're very interested in making sure that that's the limit. So, there's an ordinance which basically says you cannot, neighbor planning unit meetings shall not be used for political forums or campaigning for city, county, state, or federal elections. NPU-W has questioned this over the years, its constitutionality and, well, frankly, the wisdom. But hopefully, if anyone does see this and any candidate wants to come here, they should feel free to come here, and we'll deal with whatever the city has to tell us about that, because it's offensive. That's all I have.
All right, that's it for our agenda this evening. Yes, sir.
I asked, I wanted to put on the agenda. Could we get an information update? I don't know what the report is about what's happening with the former earth-shaking use of buildings.
Looks like they're leveling it to me, Ralph. What do you think?
No, but I mean, is there?
No, it's gone.
Can't save it.
It's done. I knew exactly it's done.
Can I finish? I
Sure.
understood that there was a lawsuit. Is that lawsuit about the SAP? Does that still exist?
No.
So that's been thrown out of court. Okay.
The holding action is in, yes.
So does the permit, the SAP or whatever it was, does it go forward to the new owner?
The short answer is, well, I think you're referring to the toll company that purchased Thrive. I believe it's saying.
It's not Thrive, it's someone else.
I do not, I'm going to be honest with you. That's the question the planner could better answer than I could. I don't know how SAP's transfer.
But
I bet they do.
I'm sorry. Is the lawsuit done?
Done.
It
Dead.
still goes on.
No.
It's not been thrown out or ruled on or anything like that.
I'm sorry. What do you?
The lawsuit
yes.
continues.
No. The holding action is dead.
Okay, the holding action is dead. Do we know? When you look at a seller, you see that the demolition permit was like 2 years old. Is there a time frame?
There is a limit. There is a limit on. There's a limit. I thought building permits and demo permits or building permits had a 6-month limit. Is that your understanding?
It's nuances of that.
That I do not.
Well, I mean, if they tore it down without the proper demolition permit, don't you think?
They should get. They'll get. I mean, the bottom line is this: they can get a new permit, obviously, but I mean, they certainly could be brought in the municipal court and have their wrist slapped by paying a double penalty, to pay a double fee to get the permit.
Well, so, I mean, it's just a kind of a principle to get people to abide by the rules. much as possible. And so can we, is there a way to figure out whether the SAP that went with Thrive goes forward to this new owner?
Yes, there's a way to figure that out. If you're asking me to do it, yes, I'll do it.
Thank you.
Not at all. Anything else? Greg?
Is there a transportation committee report?
Is there a transportation committee report? So you're offering it?
May I get
Yes.
a transportation committee report?
That would be awesome.
Thank you. Hey, I'm Greg Jafrida. I live in Wormwood Park. I work as a policy advisor with Atlanta Bicycle Coalition. I will be very quick here. We are seeking support for a policy change with the City of Atlanta to make 25 miles per hour the speed limit on all local streets. The main intent of this is to make our streets safer for vulnerable users. Really the difference between getting struck by a vehicle or a driver as a pedestrian at 25 miles an hour and 35 miles an hour is basically the difference between life and death or serious injury. It also reduces the likelihood of drivers getting into crashes in the first place because it allows more stopping time, reaction time, and general awareness. This is something that would apply only to local streets. This is not something that would apply to state routes such as Moreland Avenue or Memorial Drive, interstates, of course. So this is something that's part of a larger movement called Vision Zero, where cities worldwide are trying to adopt the kinds of policy changes that are necessary to reduce the number of traffic deaths and serious injuries to zero. So this is something that will be introduced to council probably in the next couple of months. There will be a lot of discussion about it. You'll have an opportunity to talk to your council members, but we're getting out and talking to the communities and really making the case for why we think it is an important thing for our communities. So I'm happy to take a couple questions.
You said it won't affect state routes, but would it affect roads, and I'm not sure where state route is versus not, I know Moreland is a reference you said. Would it affect Boulevard, flat shows, and other major routes that aren't necessarily local streets?
So that is a good question. Boulevard is a good example of a street. It is a city street, but it is classified as an arterial, so it carries a higher volume of traffic than a local street in the neighborhood. We are advocating for those city arterials to also be 25 miles per hour. By the time this is passed, I fully expect that the city is not necessarily going to do that. We think that the safety benefits would really be important to all of those roads because there are people who live on Boulevard, there are children crossing on Boulevard. All of these, in fact, most of our injuries and fatalities involving vulnerable users, that's pedestrians, it's people with limited mobility, that's cyclists. Most of those crashes happen on arterials like that, where you have a combination of high traffic speeds and a lot of different active uses like businesses and schools. So we think it should be that way. Frankly, it may not end up that way.
I just know that getting around through the city, my commute went from, and I work downtown, I live in East Atlanta here, my commute has gone from about 15 minutes on a good day to about 40 to 45 minutes on a good day. And it's, the traffic is increasing, and to reduce the speed on some of the major routes is, although it's a great idea, it doesn't necessarily do anything for people who actually have to work in the city.
The one thing I want to emphasize, speed limits are a very small portion of what's actually building into your overall commute time. What we're really talking about is the speed between which you're driving from stop sign to red light or red light to red light. And the traffic volume is also something that's not necessarily under our control. This is really about thinking about our safety and health on our streets in the city. And frankly, a lot of the things that are contributing to that longer commute are regional issues, such as they're throwing up 1,000 homes every other month in Henry County.
And it's not, but this isn't a regional, this is East Atlantic downtown minus the highway.
Look at the plates.
Yeah.
Look at the plates that are speeding down your street.
That's a clarification. So you said, Greg, you said local streets. Now, are you using that term as a term of art or just a generic term? In other words, local as opposed to collector as opposed to arterial, or all City of Atlanta streets that are not otherwise supposed to jurisdiction?
So to clarify, streets are classified by different categories. There's local streets, which is usually kind of narrow two-lane neighborhood street that you would normally think of. You have collector streets, which might be like Flat Shoals would be a collector. Then you have arterial streets like Moreland or Boulevard. and then up to an interstate. Now, we are talking about City of Atlanta streets. We are advocating for all City of Atlanta streets to be 25 miles per hour. I would fully expect that the city is probably going to, I think they would probably end up just classifying local and City of Atlanta local and collector streets as 25 miles per hour, and I don't think that they would try to apply this to city arterial streets.
It's almost all city arterial streets are state highways anyway, aren't almost all of them?
So that most of the city street, the state streets are arterials.
Yeah, and there's some collectors like for example, I know Flat Shoals is a state highway as well. Parts of it.
You mean Glenwood?
Well, thank you. I'm an idiot. Yes, Glenwood.
That's kind of a remnant, and stay tuned. I think we might see some changes on that in the future. But
very good. Any other questions?
Yes. So 25 miles per hour is pretty much a school zone throughout the city of Atlanta, and to imply that it wouldn't impact traffic throughout commutes is a little disingenuous, because that's literally driving a school zone throughout the city of Atlanta. Secondly, iCycle. What are organizations like yours, doing with cyclists to educate them to ride their bikes safely? I would agree that there are people that speed up and down Boulevard because they fly past me all the time. I would actually advocate in other cities that I've been in where you put those little things that are kind of rubbery or whatever. They're not literal. They don't seem to be that expensive, but it really does give a delineation between the bike lane and the streets. But I'm going to get back to what is really important to me. These cyclists ride like they own the road and like they have bumpers.
Right.
And
guys, these are relevant points, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm interrupting because here's the deal. You're raising a valid point, and I see it every day, and I don't like it either. But the issue under consideration is the lowering of the speed limit in the streets, not the cyclists. Now, I'm happy to discuss both things, but we only discuss one at a time because they're not related together directly, and the motion is to lower the speed limits, not to control the cyclists. If you want to make a motion to control the cyclists or enforce
No, I just wanted to ask a question, but I can ask it offline.
Ask it.
I can ask them. I just did.
Okay, awesome. You answer the question quickly?
Quickly, I think the first thing we do is we offer free cycling classes and education all over the city. Anyone is welcome to take part. We have education programs in all of the schools. We have partnerships with APS. Frankly, based on the behavior that I see every day, I'm more concerned about drivers when it comes to who's carrying people on our streets. And frankly, this speed limit discussion is really much more for the benefit of pedestrians and transit users and all of the vulnerable users on our street. Frankly, I don't think this really changes conditions for cyclists a whole lot. This is really something that's a part of the Bicycle Coalition's broader mission to try and make streets safer for all users. And this is something that will absolutely benefit driver safety as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks. Quick comment, Carlin Beer, Chair of the ECA Transportation Committee. Thanks, Greg, for being here. I think that the speed limit reduction is an important, one important component of Vision Zero, which is a really forward-thinking proposal for Atlanta. I think it's something that Oslo and Stockholm have done, and it's something that we can do. I just want to let the group know that Greg also was kind enough to come and talk to our ECA meeting in January, and the speed limit reduction is something that ECA voted to support as an organization. So thanks again for being here.
Nathan?
I want to second his motion. I also just want to bring up the fact that as a pedestrian, it can be terrifying to walk out on a crosswalk, which you have the legal right to do, when cars are going 35 or 40 miles per hour. There's no way you can stop them. If you walk off road, they're going to hit you. And so we create some crazy, unsafe environment where we're trying to use crosswalks legally, yet people are driving too quick. And so, I mean, I think 25 is a good in the city limits.
25, yeah, good. Got it. Sir.
Greg, in your study, how many of those pedestrians were outside the crosswalk that were injured or killed?
That really varies every year. There's a lot of both. Now, that said, just because they are not necessarily in a marked crosswalk by state law, that doesn't necessarily mean that they did not have a legal right.
If it's at night and they're wearing dark
And they
clothing.
run across the road in front of you, etc.
There's a whole bunch of what ifs.
Guys, listen to this. We're looking for a vote tonight. Greg, hold on. Greg, we're looking for a vote tonight.
Like, if someone is, actually, we carried a motion out of the transportation
Okay.
committee.
All right, so you are.
That is
Go
before
ahead.
the
Keep on
boss.
talking. Keep on going. Go.
I'd like to make a motion to support.
Yeah, he's already got that going. That's but people have questions they want to ask for, so we're going to ask the questions. And we're going to vote, and then what'll happen will happen. So I'm sorry. Start back again with wherever you were. Ask the race.
So I've had to dodge pedestrians many times.
Even at 25.
Dodging them from starting across Moreland Avenue and having to brake hard because of it.
Was there a crosswalk that was anywhere?
No, they were not in a crosswalk.
Just
How far is the
It doesn't
pedestrian
matter how
expected?
far.
Okay.
If I'm going down Little Five Points and I want to cross the street, I'm going to go through a crosswalk.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
How far are you going to walk to a crosswalk?
As long as it
Till
takes.
it's my safety, and if I'm supposed to cross at a crosswalk, I'll obey the rules.
Okay,
So we think
Isn't that
we need
what
a lot
we
more
were saying?
discussion on this, so
Obey the
people are ready to vote is my question. I think people seem like they have some fairly strong opinions already. We need to go back and forth for a while longer if people know how they're going to vote. More discussion? What?
On the question, please.
All right, so is anyone opposed to voting now? All right. Does anyone oppose this motion?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So, all in favor of the motion?
Yes, voting rights.
That have paddles.
All in favor?
Yes, all in favor of supporting the 25 mile per hour recommendation, which is kind of fake. Do you have actual language on that?
This is basically.
Guys, hold on. Let him. Dude, come on.
This is a motion of support for setting a citywide policy of 25 miles per hour on city streets.
Okay. So that's what we're voting on. So more of a policy statement, less of a piece of our legislation.
Correct.
Fair
The
enough.
actual legislation will be introduced in the next month or two.
Cool.
Correct.
I'm sure we'll have a chat about it then. All right, all in favor? Raise your little placards like this. Okay. All right, 16 in favor, all opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Placards down. All abstaining. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion carries. And we're done?
That's it, and then we'll see you guys back across the street next month at the.
I'm sorry, could I really briefly share something with about homelessness resources? I'll keep it to like 2 minutes or less.
Sure, go.
Sure.
Start talking.
Hey, my apologies, y'all. I know everyone's eager to leave. My name's Norma Nyhoff, and I work for Nicholas House. We are a family shelter located in Grant Park. We have been active in Metro Atlanta for 38 years, and our mission is helping homeless families achieve self-sufficiency. I did want to share y'all about opportunities to get engaged. We do offer tours the first Saturday of each month from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. if you want to come and learn more. More importantly, I know I live in Elmwood Park, and in this part of town, I see folks experiencing homelessness or living unsheltered all the time. There is a process that Nicholas House participates in alongside other agencies in the city of Atlanta to try to coordinate entry and services for people experiencing homelessness. So if you know of anyone or you encounter anyone who's experiencing homelessness, we actually have a resource list that's available. I've made it over there on that table. I also am happy to share information with you if you want to grab me after. And I also have information available on our website at nicholashouse.org. So if you know of absolutely anyone who is looking for those long-term services and support, even if Nicholas House is not the resource for them, we want to make sure that they can get going in that process. Last of all, we do have an upcoming event. It is our New Beginnings Luncheon. That's going to be taking place on Friday, March 27th at the Four Seasons and featuring a keynote from Monica Pearson. We are highlighting entrepreneurial women in our community as well as formerly homeless women who have gone on to inspire others. So I want to respect your time, but please feel free to find me after if y'all have any questions whatsoever about what we do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. March 25th, fourth Wednesday. We'll see you across the street. Thank you.
If you want to
I love the mouth.
The committee meets on the first Tuesday, so the 3rd. At 6 o'clock to make that. Of the month. So March 3rd. March 2nd. If you want, we can talk about the bikes, but I'm actually